Okay, I suppose we're live, but here we go.
Live like a suicide.
Getting ready for this weird flick.
I'm gonna turn you around first. You don't realize what you're
Is it just
Maybe
me?
it's a tumor.
Or is it getting crazier out there?
Hey, everybody!
It always scares me when you do that.
Welcome to Late Horror Show. What is going on? Me and Ted here. We're going to talk about Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires from 1974.
The legend of the seven
Legend
golden vampires.
of the Seven Golden Vampires, yes.
Or Seven Brothers Meet Dracula, depending on how you watched it.
Kung Fu Horror is what we got. Hammer Horror and the Shaw Brothers.
They saw him coming.
Look at that, man.
Are those one of those things that are
Killer
hard to
Clowns.
get? Like, is that the thing that everybody's going and buying and selling on eBay or something?
I think it was hard for it was hard to find it, but I wasn't looking. It just happened to be there on the shelf, and I got the last mask, and yeah, so there you go. But hello,
So you're all
everybody.
about it.
Hello, everybody in chat. We got JLR. What's going on? Chris W. Black Roses. Kathy. Tracy. Welcome back, Tracy. Vincent White. Rich Cat Ranch. Ginger. Connie. Everybody's here. Well, not everybody. We only got 21 watching, but oh well. That's go
everybody.
Up, I think.
That's the cream
We're pulling
de la
them in.
cream.
We're pulling them in. Entertaining is what we do. Oh, anyways, what the hell
Do you not understand what you watched?
did I just watch?
Has anybody out there seen this movie? This was the last
Last
of the Hammer Dracula
yes,
films.
Yes, it was.
The only thing that could have made it better
Was Christopher Lee
would have
being
been
that?
Christopher Lee.
Yes.
Other than that, it is the second best Hammer movie of the 70s. Because nothing can top Vampire Lovers.
You think this is the second best
after Vampire Lovers of the 70s?
of the seven?
Of the 70s.
Okay. Oh, I
Of the
can't wait to
70s.
get into this, but
It's a fact.
let me turn this down a bit.
Trust
So
me,
I
if
can
I
see
say
the
it, it's
chat.
fact.
Ted is we're talking to somebody here who
And I'm going to tell you
well,
why.
you know, I'm not gonna because I love a lot of the Hammer horror, but you know,
Yeah.
some of these.
But I've just injected something that you're not 100% used to.
No, I'm not used to this.
You're not
this
used to
was-
the Shaw Brothers martial arts extravaganzas,
No, this was
which I'm also a big fan of.
Yes. Some of the Shaw Brothers stuff that they've done are great, but this one, it's got the elements of horror,
Here's what it's got.
based a little bit off of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which threw me off. I'm like going, who was
What?
the Dracula in this one? John Forbes Robertson,
Forbes.
one of the greatest actors to play Dracula in history.
I mean, it's 5 minutes of screen time. It's really nothing.
Looked like he had,
If anything,
looked like he had lipstick on.
the guy that he inhabits,
yeah,
Ka,
Cobb.
is a much more interesting actor.
Oh yeah, no.
But,
and they don't
this-
even show him that long in the movie. either.
No. It's not.
It's mostly
It's more about the journey.
yes, the journey, the seven, a
Yeah.
little samurai feel there, a little bit.
Here's
I
what you
don't know,
got.
but,
You got the 1970s, mid-1970s.
yes, you do.
Hammer, while popular,
Yeah.
is starting to wane. But the next big popular...
Starting to Dwayne Wayne.
Dwayne Wayne, just Wayne. Just Wayne.
Okay, Wayne.
You know, their output's not bringing in the big box office that it once did.
Right.
And the attempts that they've made to go a little bit more risque, like Vampire Lovers or
Hey.
Lust for a Vampire,
Yeah.
you know, didn't pay off. Now we love those movies, but back then they didn't, you know, pull in super big bucks.
Right.
Did you need something to...
No.
All right.
No.
So then you got a studio that had been around since practically the silent time, Shaw Brothers,
Yeah.
out of Hong Kong,
The Shaw.
which
Brothers.
in the late 60s and throughout the 70s, churning out these really kick-ass martial arts films.
Yes.
And you also had Bruce Lee, not associated with Shaw Brothers. His films were released through Golden Harvest.
Right.
When Raymond Chow left Shaw Brothers and started his own studio. But when you're watching a Shaw Brothers film, much like when you're watching a Hammer horror film, you expect certain things. With Hammer, you expect the gothic. You expect, either Christopher Lee or Peter Cushing to be in it. When you're watching a Shaw Brothers film, especially one directed by Chang Che, who did even though he's not credited, am I interrupting your conversation there?
No, I'm listening to you.
Even though he is uncredited,
Yes.
he directed the martial arts segments in the film. Certainly, Roy.
We just got Jerry Juilliard, Emily came in, Bubba's here.
They're also on that
Ryan's here.
screen right there.
But see, if I turn to this screen, I don't got the microphone.
Then I don't have to look at you.
I know. Listen there.
The martial arts scenes certainly were not directed by Roy Ward Baker. All right, no stuffy British guy directed those martial arts scenes.
No, they didn't.
That was Chang Che, who is a big name as far as Shaw Brothers goes. If you see his name, you know you're going to get some spectacular fights.
Yeah.
And you're going to get a little bit more blood than you get in some of the other movies.
And that's what kind of threw me off on this movie. The fights were kind of lousy for
a Shaw Brothers movie. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. They're not as big.
No.
They're economical and to the point, and we move on.
100%. I mean, I saw kicks that were 2 feet away, and people go, "Oh!"
But you also had
going,
two crews working together that didn't speak the same language.
Yeah.
But the way this all came about is the writer of this film, and the writer of some other Hammer horror films, John Houghton.
Yes.
His wife's father knew, I think, Run Run Shaw, who was one of the heads of Shaw Brothers.
Yeah.
And got the idea of doing a collaboration. Not the first time that they did it. They would also do it again immediately after with an Italian Western called The Stranger and the Gunfighter with Lee Van Cleef. Okay. And it had like a kung fu, element in it as well.
Very cool.
That's a much harder movie to find.
Yeah.
But it's, the second time that they tried to mash up genres. Okay. So horror is always money. Kung fu at that time was big money.
Oh, yeah.
So it only made sense. Let's try to put this together and see what we get. So you get this story, Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, which isn't a bad story.
Well...
No, it's not. No, it's not.
There were a lot of weird things in the movie that just threw me off. I mean, even the beginning of the movie.
The beginning of the movie's fantastic. You have Transylvania. You have some old guy named Stosh with his goats.
Yeah.
And who does he see climbing up the hill? This Asian guy with Fu Manchu, long hair. Ka. His name's Ka.
Yeah.
A type of person he had never encountered before in his life. Probably didn't even know existed.
No.
And immediately gets scared and runs away because he probably thinks he's the devil because they were all uneducated at that time.
Yeah, but he goes into the castle where we meet Dracula.
Well, that's why he was coming to Transylvania.
Dracula.
This guy came on foot all the way from China.
Yes.
To Transylvania to seek out Dracula to help him to resurrect his vampire clan in his village.
Right.
And I mean, what a cool idea that a Chinaman would come all the way to Transylvania, a Chinese guy, an evil dude, wandering around Transylvania looking for Dracula. Come on.
Listen.
There's nothing in that sentence that says that sucks.
Well, first of all, it sounds great, but on the film, and again, I didn't hate the movie, but I'll tell you what, when I was done watching it, after yawning a few times throughout the middle of it,
Dude, you're being a dick.
What?
You're being a little bit of a dick. I don't have to do this, This is how you make money, not me.
Listen. I have to. What, you want me to lie?
No, but I'd like you to show a little respect.
And I am. I'm just asking you.
After yawning a few times, and it didn't really make sense. You're being a dick.
Listen, the movie...
Let's watch Munchies.
Yes, now there you go. Now that's fun and entertaining. Listen,
It's retarded.
Okay, Dracula at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Why couldn't he leave the castle? Why was he stuck in that miserable castle, as he said?
I don't know. It's a Hammer movie.
Okay, well, he said he's stuck there, and I'm like, wherever in any of the stories was Dracula stuck in a
Dracula
castle?
also turns into a bat. I mean, do you ever question how he does that?
Well, the bats in here were pretty bad, too.
Well, they're bad in Universal movies as well. But
no,
no, they're horrible. They're you can see
Universals
the
were
strings.
way better than this one. But anyways,
Dude, I'm 2 seconds away from walking out of here.
Anyway, Jesus Christ. Okay, I guess I better
You better tone it down, man.
better say how much better this is than so. That
You don't have to lie.
insulted.
Just don't
No.
insult me.
No, I'm not insulting you.
You are
Listen,
insulting
we
me.
have different views on certain movies. Like you love the Hammer movies, and I think
I love what's good.
and the ones you've picked out a lot of the times are
Look,
really
there's some
good.
bats on there right now.
I know.
They don't look any worse than Universal ones. You want me to pull up Dracula and show you?
No, that's all right.
Because I could do it right frickin' now.
No, that's all right.
Oh, yeah. I bet. You don't want to do the Pepsi challenge now.
Listen, you love.
But
the
I don't
Hammer
know why he
films,
can't
and-
leave the castle, and I don't know why he turns into bats, and why he can't cross running water. They never actually explain why. We just
Exactly.
take it as a given in the movie.
Exactly. And
I mean, he
understand.
possesses this dude. After this dude asks him to help him with the vampire problem, he gets the idea, hey, I'm going to possess your body, leave this castle, go to China, and start wreaking havoc over there. They don't explain how he can do that. He just does it.
That was weird too.
I mean, we're not
I
talking,
mean-
Lawrence of fucking Arabia here. We're talking Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires. It is what it is.
Listen, okay, here, let me sum it up, and then we'll go on and talk.
You're going to
about the
sum it up
movie.
that fast? Go right ahead.
No. My views, not on the premise, and we'll walk through the movie.
We don't need to walk
but
through nothing. Walk
the-
on your head.
The things I didn't like, I was looking at this movie going, what the? First of all, it was the weirdest movie because these vampires, let alone the whole Dracula thing aside, with the lipstick at the beginning was just it threw me off.
I'm not the makeup artist.
Listen, the fact that he had to take Ka and have his soul or inhabit his body or whatever, so he can become Ka to leave the castle.
He had to inhabit his body.
To go to China.
Yeah.
And not be able to leave that building. I don't understand.
I don't know if he couldn't. I mean, he
He
certainly
never left it.
That doesn't mean he couldn't leave.
I
I mean, he obviously had to walk there.
Everything
He
pointed.
actually had to be outside
know.
of the building at one point.
Exactly.
So,
Which is why I don't understand what was
I don't
all
know.
going on here. But anyways, you got that. It kind of just threw me off. But then once all of the vampires.
you don't analyze a Hammer movie as you do Moby Dick.
No, I know, but listen, Ted. I looked at these vampires
You're
and
gonna nitpick.
the makeup effects were terrible.
It's makeup, man.
What the hell? They looked so odd. It could have been the mix-up of Hammer Studio and Shaw Brothers. It might have been that, but
No.
the look of the vampire faces and how they had these masks, I mean, it just looked so weird. And then you had
You
these...
could have done better?
You had... Yeah,
I doubt it.
probably could
I
have.
doubt it.
But anyways,
Not on your best day and them on their worst day.
are you really getting upset at me? Tom?
You're just gonna have to wait till after the show.
Okay. Jesus Christ.
I'm giving them something to chew on today.
But listen, the zombie people that rise, the army that fight for him, were so... They're like... Every time they would show up and he would summon them, they would come out of the ground every time. Undisturbed ground. That
Right.
kind of threw me off. But
Just like they did in Return of the Living Dead, which you didn't have a problem with.
Well, they came out once.
Of undisturbed ground.
Well, once.
And looked just as shitty.
No, but every time they went back in the ground and came back out.
Maybe they were different ones, because maybe those got killed, and when the vampires died, they kind of
So there's
dusted up.
certain ones that they called out for the first run.
I don't know.
And then
Again,
the second run,
you're really trying to inject more into this than you need to. It's just a fun little 89-minute ride.
Because listen, the zombies, okay, or whatever this army that protected the 7 vampires or fought with them, when they started doing this little run and hop, and it was
Probably couldn't see in those stupid masks.
They were going. What was the sound?
I don't think
know.
there was a.
There was
sound.
no. Listen back on it. There was a weird.
It is what it is, man.
When they were running, and I'm like going, "What's going on?" Am I
really? Did you have your
am
notebook
I,
out? I see you got it. Your
am I
notebook there.
sleeping?
Were you making a little? I was like, I don't like Hammer movies. See,
No,
because you kind of go into it with that pre-thing, you know,
Listen.
like that you don't like it.
This movie.
I think that's maybe what galls me more. You went into it thinking you weren't going to like it.
This movie freaked me out. Can I just say that?
Well, then
It was like a weird nightmare. and I thought I was sleeping, but I was awake.
Really? You thought you were
watching
sleeping?
it.
You're 50-some years old and you don't know when you're sleeping and when you're awake?
I watched this when I was going
Time
to
to
bed.
get a checkup from the neck up, brother.
I keep having checkups and nothing seems to be working. But boy, we're pulling them in tonight, man. 22.
Well, maybe if we talked about Jason or Freddy,
don't like these kung fu horror movies or 19 viewers.
Well, see,
87,000.
Maybe they're going to websites talking about Rings of Power. I don't know.
Could be what's going on. Which, man, we could talk. Anyways,
if you want to get some more hate mail, I can talk about that.
No, please, Edward Stewart.
I haven't even watched.
Good
it.
to see you, Edward Stewart. Sorry, I'm not keeping up with the.
I know it's flying.
Chat too much.
It's flying.
CM, what's going on? I know this. Evidently, you guys aren't. I don't know what's going on YouTube, but you guys, I guess, aren't into it tonight. I don't know what's going on.
Poor YouTube. I don't know.
Yeah,
what are you gonna do about YouTube?
YouTube's a piece of whatever. Anyways, yeah, no, it was an odd existence that I had last night, laying in the bed watching this. And,
I see. Evidently.
All I can say is that's kind of my take, and I was just thrown aback. Even the ending kind of just threw me away. But
every Hammer movie has a nihilistic ending. It's
a weird ending.
It just kind of ends and leaves you. Oh, they always leave you.
Oh no, I know that.
That's
but
their thing.
I tell you what, every Hammer film that you've showed me so far, I enjoyed.
Has been tits.
I enjoyed way more than this.
Nah.
This
is a good one, man.
I think this was just weird and odd for me.
Well, yes, it is.
And I love weird and odd things.
It is weird and odd, and it was considered weird and odd back then, as well. But when you look at it now, it was an interesting experiment of putting two genres together, because it hadn't really been done before like this. You also had
Christopher goes, "These guys are wild tonight."
That's right.
We're arguing.
You also had
anyway,
two different cultures organically coming together in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
That fighting and striving against an evil.
Yes.
You had men and women coming together in a way that makes sense.
Yes.
And fighting together, and everyone, male and female, gets a moment to shine in the movie. Gets that moment, a hero moment to shine a little bit. And everybody got a turn.
Yes.
Everybody got presence and representation in the movie.
Yes.
So
I agree
you got
with you 100%.
a little bit of everything in there.
I agree with that.
So there's no reason for anybody to be upset. And you've got a kind of story, It's not a bad story. You've got a Chinese village plagued by these vampires that Van Helsing has never seen before or experienced before. And he gets called upon to help this village out. And so, mounting an expedition, they go out there, they pick up clues along the way, they fight a few battles along the way, they get they defeat the vampire, the arch vampire Dracula. He defeats him again.
What the heck? We just went through the whole movie.
Well, I figured that would be nice for you, right? Then we can kind of end it early.
We could end it in 20 minutes. What the hell? Jacob J, what's going on? Nice to see you.
And then we could spend the rest of the time focusing on your nitpicks.
Well, no. Listen, you've got some characters. Yes, Peter Cushing. Yes, he's the Van Helsing character.
Oh, he's fantastic.
And he's got a son who is what's
now? How did he get a son? In the last movie, he didn't have a son.
I don't know.
How did he get a son?
But
it's a huge hole.
It is a big hole.
So there we go.
Van Helsing.
Helsing obviously got it on.
He was a loner, but they never showed his family.
I know. We didn't see him getting jiggy with it. So how do I know that's really his kid?
Did you ever read the book Bram Stoker's Dracula? No?
What are you talking about?
I would figure
you have
would.
the gall to ask me if I
So did Van Helsing have a family in the book? The book talks about his family, his wife.
But was his son named Leyland?
No, his son was probably not named.
There you go.
Leyland.
It wasn't Leyland.
But he has a son in here named Leyland, who
it's a bit of an odd name. It's an odd choice.
Leyland Van Helsing.
Instead of just Leland, Leyland.
Yeah. But he falls in love with the sister of who's the one? Sek Ching? Is that his name?
Si Ching, played by David Chang,
who
for Shaw Brothers is a major player. He's in a lot of great movies.
Yes. And he's the main brother.
Kind of groomed to be the next Bruce Lee at one point.
Yes.
Made a shit. I mean, by the time he did this movie, he'd already made like 40 movies.
Right.
I mean, he was a child actor, everything. Good actor in those films. And granted, maybe a lot of people haven't watched those films. I'm a big fan of those films. I've got boxes and sets and Blu-rays of tons of films. I could name you 20 that are must-see. But,
well, the Shaw Brothers did Blade Runner, didn't they?
They did not do Blade Runner.
They didn't do Blade Runner?
No.
Was it a Shaw Brothers production?
No. It'd have been cool if it was. But it was not.
I saw some kind of list.
Maybe someone there can look it up on Google and tell you. Keep watching the chat.
No, it's he falls in love with. He was the main brother, and he had his
right. When Van Helsing gets
brothers,
basically laughed out of this conference he's giving, this lecture he's giving on vampirism, all the other elders are like, "You really expect us to believe this is nonsense?" But he's telling them about, a legend he heard of an ancient village in China where they are plagued by vampires. Yeah. Turns out that this David Chang character is from that village. And
WTF Horror and Sci-Fi says this is a cool film.
Well,
so there you go.
I guess you can either take our word for it or your own.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
again, I don't hate the film. Will
you ever watch it again?
No.
Well, then you hated it. I don't tend to watch films over again that I love.
No.
Right?
No, hey, there are many good films that I just don't watch anymore.
Mm-hmm.
One-time watch is fine, even if it's a good film. They've got to be... There's certain reasons why I have to watch a film, like The Burbs, over and over again, because it's a comfort film, and I love it. But, listen, you got Leland Van Helsing falls in love with May Quay. And she was very beautiful, and they.
But she could also fight, and see, she's not there just to be eye candy.
No, she fought very well. She did,
as her 7 brothers. Is very formidable.
She was one of the ones that survived at the end, right?
She did survive.
Her and 2 of the brothers, not the main one, ended up surviving, but.
Yes.
But
she's actually quite deadly with the knives. Actually, the first major action scene that we get out in that little field in the hinterland, when they're first going on their expedition, there was like a local criminal that had the hots for the lady. She's kind of like a wealthy socialite widow, and she ends up funding the expedition to go to this, but she wants to go because she's a fan of Van Helsing's work.
Yeah, what's her name? Her name's Van Ness or Van?
Yeah, I just know her, Julie Edge. Was the actress's name. I think they called her like whatever. What did they call her? Did they call her maybe
older socialite? They called her.
Can't remember her name in the film. It escaped me for a moment.
I thought it was Vanessa.
But
or Vanessa.
I don't know.
Anyways, yeah.
Someone in the chat will say, "Keep watching the chat." Someone will come. Someone will Google that shit.
Will they?
And
watched it earlier today. Love the martial arts in the film. Really easy to tell the fighting styles. Mm-hmm. Edward Stewart is big into kung fu.
Well, there you go. And
so,
and a certain generation that grew up. I mean, maybe you just didn't watch those films.
Yeah,
I did when I could.
There were some that I watched.
And
definitely.
whenever I got a chance,
yes,
to watch one, it's like. When you start getting into that genre of film, you start realizing, okay, there's a lot of independent, not that great films. But then you see, you're noticing all these ones you like are like these Shaw Brothers ones. The productions are better, the music's better, the sound effects even.
Yes.
The stories are better, the actors are better. And you start expecting a certain quality from those ones, just like you would with Hammer.
Yeah.
So it's another... What I'm trying to say is, like, I'll watch a movie that I wouldn't normally watch if I know Hammer made it.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And I would watch a movie that I normally wouldn't watch if I know Shaw Brothers produced it.
Okay.
Just because I'm going to be entertained by a certain level of quality. And, even though the martial arts weren't as great in this film, there were still some great moments. Like that first fight, you said May Quay, when she first holds up that knife and then... it turns into 2, and then she starts going shit show.
That was cool.
Or at the end of the fight when David Chang's character, he just fights with his bare hands. All his brothers specialize in some weapon: the bow, the mace, the staff, a sword, an axe, what have you.
And that was cool.
He just like goes ugh, like right here, and you can see he's just burying the the fingers in there. And then how cool. he takes his fingers, wipes it off on the guy before he lets him go and falls. Now that's gangster. That's bitching.
Hey, Ian Sharp and Frontier Studies. No, that was. Listen, there were some very cool things in the movie.
There's a movie by Shaw Brothers called 5 Element Ninjas. The dude gets his balls skewered. His ball is hanging out.
Yes.
All right? He's stepping on it and shit, and he's still fighting. His ball is hanging out by the tube.
Oh, what the
Or in the boxer from Shantung, which is as Sergio Leone as a kung fu movie can get. The main character, it's a 20-minute climax of martial arts, barely just a big epic fight. The dude's got a hatchet buried in his gut, and he's kicking everybody. These are amazing movies. So maybe the quality, but again, you had two cultures come together trying to make a movie. I know the British crew did not dig the Asian crew.
Yeah.
You got Chang Chet was a renowned director.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you're just bringing me in to direct these couple little scenes and I'm not even getting my name on the credits. Yeah, I'm really going to put a lot of effort in this. Okay, do this, do that, do that. I get that.
Yeah.
But for people who hadn't seen a lot of it before,
Right.
and that's what this film represented, not having seen a lot of it before, because not every, great martial arts film came over to the West right away. We kind of got them later on.
Right.
You got a smattering of it with the few Bruce Lee movies, and everybody went nuts for that. But there was a whole slew of stuff, and then all of a sudden, like Warner Brothers and other studios started, optioning them and bringing them over, and either throwing them in theaters or putting them on videotape or putting them on Kung Fu Theater on Saturday afternoons or what have you. So
I think what I would rather enjoy would be like just horror on its own and the Kung Fu movies on its own, which I do. I think just the coming together of both of these, which is a cool idea, and again, I didn't hate the movie.
it was an experiment.
And it just there were things in it that just kind of, like I said, just threw me off. And it could be just them both putting their stories together in different ways and trying to make it fit. I'm not nitpicky over the whole Dracula thing, and
I'm a little nitpicky over it.
well,
I don't see why they couldn't have got Christopher Lee. Just come in 5 minutes of work, please.
Yeah,
just so the whole thing is all Christopher Lee.
like I said, John Forbes Robertson.
So in my mind, when I'm watching this
Dracula,
once or twice a year, I'm just picturing Christopher Lee.
Yeah, this Dracula looked like he was just going to a Halloween party. But anyways,
and
or
also
Once
this
Bitten.
was filmed in Hong Kong.
Yeah,
It was entirely shot in Hong Kong. They weren't
and it looks like
in any of their
yes.
comfort zones at all. The
Right.
British crew.
Yeah.
So it was a big change.
Yeah.
So you might see a little shift. I mean, most of the scenes are exteriors.
Yes.
Things like that. So it's very different.
Oh yeah,
But
and
it's also I wanted
like,
to expose you to one of the more unique. There's no other film in the
Oh,
Hammer catalog like this.
Listen, I give it to you, man. It's a unique film, and it's different.
And it was Peter Cushing's swan song as Professor Van Helsing.
Yes,
It was his swan song as the character.
Yes, Peter
And
Cushing.
I don't think the golden vampires look terrible. They look very different from what we look like. And that's part of the coolness in the movie.
I'll take
because
that.
Van Helsing, even says in the movie, I know how to deal with vampires, in the Western world, but here they could be very different.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of when we did Captain Kronos.
Right.
Captain Kronos tells a character in that film that, there's not just one way to kill a vampire. Some vampires die this way. Some vampires have to be killed this way. There's not just a one generic way that will kill vampires.
Oh, right.
So we found in the East, fire worked when he said, fire didn't work in the West. Stakes through the heart seemed to work.
And they killed them mostly here by fire and stakes in the heart.
Yes.
Those were those were the only two ways. Although the other interesting part of the movie
the medallions
is the medallion, and not in a bad way. It's kind of an interesting take on it, but it was weird because they wore these bat medallions.
Their life force is sort of tied to that medallion,
and you take that off of them, and they must have this hole.
I don't know how they did the effect, but
where
I don't think that's actually what happens. You take the medallion. I think that's sort of their life force, leaving them.
Well, Yes.
They don't say
But
it's
as
a
a
little
viewer,
hole.
but as a viewer looking at it as the practical effects, I'm like, the medallion came off and there's a little hole with smoke coming out of his stomach.
They had a guy,
It's gonna kill him.
with,
then
with
he
the
puts
smoke
it,
machine.
Then he puts it on the Buddha,
Right.
And they touch it.
Because that's the holy object there.
Whereas, which is unique.
Or a
different.
crucifix
Yes.
over here or
Yes.
something like that. But,
Yes.
it would be the Lord Buddha and the shrines there.
Yes.
If you place it there, okay, it's safe. And even they did that when they were camping for the night in the cave. They made a little shrine with a little Buddha stone statue, and they put the medallion there. Because that's the one place we know they can't get at it.
I'm trying to keep up with you guys' chats, but it's hard when me and Ted get talking.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate everybody in the chat. I do.
I'm going to bet you more
And,
people in that chat like this movie than don't.
Well,
I know how you are with those Hammer movies. Once in a while, you'll like one. Once in a while.
Listen.
I could probably name about 4 that you probably like.
Yeah.
And the rest you've been kind of wishy-washy on.
Listen.
And I certainly expected this when I came in tonight. I certainly expected it.
Well, there was more action than some of the Hammer horrors that I see, but what the things I love about some of the Hammer horrors that you've shown me, like
Those things aren't there.
like Vampire Lovers and stuff like that, is
not
even
here.
if it's slow though, I like the underlying story and the character development between them. Not that there wasn't a whole lot of it in here; it just was different.
It's not a gothic. It's not a gothic like we're used to.
No,
I
not
mean,
at
Vampire Lovers is top tier.
Oh.
I mean, it's so gothic, and it's so beautiful, and this is very, very different.
It is,
and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because it's a unique entry in there. I don't own every Hammer movie, but I own every Hammer horror movie.
Hey, Ron, what's
on
going
Blu-ray,
on?
And every Hammer horror movie.
Yeah.
And
no, Ted's
none of them
again
are
a big
like
Hammer
this.
horror fan. So I mean, it's.
I mean, they have thrillers, they have comedies, they have Robin Hood movies, and they have pirate movies.
Listen,
some of those are good, but they're not in my collection. I just,
Yes.
I don't go back to those time and time again.
Right.
But the horror ones, the Draculas, the Frankensteins, the little monsters they had in between, like the Gorgon or things like that. I have all of them, and this is probably the most unique out of all of them.
Yes. I'm one of those people who, and again, we our differences are. We got a lot of interest in a lot of the same movies, for sure, 100%. But I think when it comes to the Hammer stuff, for you just love them. And there's something about it
I'm not backing down, dude.
No, I know. And that's fine.
They're better than Universal's.
Oh, yeah.
They're better.
Anyways.
They're better.
See,
look, someone's got a big lightning bolt and hammer right there. See, I know they're on my side.
If I put a poll up for a Hammer horror or Universal
a poll?
horror,
What does a poll tell you? Who's your polling group?
How many?
A bunch of knuckle draggers?
Well, no, it would be these people here. But anyways, we're not.
What do they know?
Listen, Hammer horror.
That's why I'm here to educate.
Is what you. For me, it's just a lot of them are just too slow. And again, it's just a different style of movie making.
I mean, I'm
right?
sorry. I'm sorry you don't have patience.
I do.
I buy the ticket. I take the ride.
It's the same way, Ted, when I love those stupid, dumb, cheesy 80s horror films.
Boy, you used all the right adjectives.
Exactly. And I own up to it. But I love them. That's what I love about them. I love, like Basket Case, like how bad the acting
Basket
can
Case
be.
isn't that bad. That's.
But the acting in there's some of the worst in the world.
Oh,
right?
I've seen worse. Worse.
But
it's not great.
But do you understand
There's a difference.
Differences between
there's shades of gray, man.
What people love, though, like we've talked about this over and over a million times. Like the worst movie out there is somebody's favorite movie, right?
Oh my God, yes, it's true.
So
that doesn't mean that their opinion is valid, though.
Well,
just because you have an opinion doesn't mean it has equal validity.
Listen,
to
no,
mine.
I believe that there could be some validity in the reasoning behind. Listen, the reasoning
I won't
behind.
accept it.
Then let me tell you my reasoning behind a lot of these cheesy 80s horror movies that are so ridiculous, so dumb and horrible, but I love them.
I'd like to know.
Because it makes me feel good.
Feel good.
Yes. It lifts your spirits a bit by looking at it and
Feel good.
watching a dumb, stupid movie like that.
When you could be spending your time watching a better movie?
When they bring better movies around, then bring them. But no,
We're
again,
watching a better movie
listen,
right now.
Listen, that's not the point, though.
Oh, that's my point.
The point is, those movies are the movies that make me feel good, and I'm like, man, it was so fun and enjoyable. That was a great ride. You know what I mean? So, like Hobgoblins too. Let's talk about that. A Muppet
Do we have
of
to?
the monsters.
We don't have to.
Where you can see the hand of the.
Yeah, when's that become fun?
It was so dumb that I look. You telling me we didn't laugh our asses off?
It's different when you're with friends and you're watching, but to sit there by yourself, all alone, wife and kids are out of the house, you go, I've got some me time.
Yeah.
I'm either going to pump some lotion in my hand or I'm going to watch Hobgoblins 2.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm going to watch Hobgoblins 2. All right, then I've got to say something's wrong with you.
Anyways, so yes, there were there were two big fight scenes in the movie, and the first one was in a cave, which was interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of neat.
Yeah,
You had, and I realized the undead army that comes to life. You have to also remember Hammer and Shaw made movies on the cheap. All right,
Yes.
Shaw Brothers churned out at least 40 movies a year, and they did not. I know a lot about Shaw Brothers. Shaw Brothers, they did not.
So you're not agreeing with me about the makeup effects and everything in the
No.
movie.
It's not that I'm disagreeing with you.
Okay. And
I'm saying for what it is,
yes,
it's fine.
yes,
For what it is,
yes,
for the amount of money that Shaw put up,
yes.
and they had everything under one roof. Right. They didn't contract out to anybody. They had their own carpenters, their own sound effects people, everything. They did everything very economical, and Hammer did it as economical as they could as well. And a big budget for makeup when you already have to pay to send this whole crew to Hong Kong.
Right.
Don't forget that.
Yes.
That's this isn't Warner Brothers. This isn't Paramount or 20th Century Fox or Disney. This is Hammer. All right.
Speaking of Warner
Brothers,
Brothers,
where their studio was, like where their headquarters was a little above I think a print shop in London.
Yeah.
All right. It's not like they had a great big office on a lot somewhere. So
speaking of Warner Brothers, they're the ones who pushed that they had to put Dracula, the character Dracula, in there. They pushed it.
That sells. Anyways. And actually, if this had done a little better, they were going to do one based in India. And it was going to be called like Kali, Queen of Death or something like that. But there was also another script. And I think I may have even led you to a YouTube clip of it or gave you a copy of it.
Yeah.
There's a dramatization, like a radio style dramatization of it called The Unquenchable Thirst of Dracula, which takes place after this film takes place in India. Mm-hmm. And again, it would have been a neat little culture thing. Now you've got, Dracula and all this stuff going on in India. Yeah. And all the gods and people and things that, interact with that. So there were big plans. Yes. It didn't fall through. And so this film ended up getting released, and I'd love to see this. This is 89 minutes. This is what is considered the uncut version that was released in, I don't know where the hell it was released. Yeah. But for the West. Yes. Now, in China, when this was premiered in Hong Kong, it was 110 minutes. Okay. A bunch of shit was in that movie that we never got a chance to see. Okay. All right? That cut, no one knows where that cut's at. So then it was released at 89 minutes. Okay. But, there's a scene like, for instance, like, when you see like blood coming out of somebody's mouth, which is very common in the Shaw Brothers films, someone gets hit in the gut, like that. That's going to go. In England, no, we're not having that. They cut that stuff out. Yeah. There is a scene there's like they're cooking and there's a frog that gets his head cut off. Yeah. And that would, any scene with anything with animals to this day still gets cut in England. And then when it was released to the West, they further truncated it down to like 72 minutes or something like that. They cut a big chunk of it out.
Yeah.
And they kept all the violence and stuff in. They cut out probably all the talky bits that maybe you didn't like as much, that you felt made it boring. They cut all that out.
Well,
All right.
yeah.
And then they kind of doubled up on scenes, like maybe turned them backwards or something so people wouldn't notice. But that version's actually on the Blu-ray as well. It's called Seven Brothers Meet Dracula.
Okay.
But this 110-minute version, I'd kill to be able to see the whole thing.
Yeah.
But
No,
this is the actual cut that was made for the West before any trims were made. So this is what we've got.
Okay, well, yeah.
You know.
Very interesting. I mean, there's some other interesting. And hello, Denny Regrade and Boy Wonder, or Bad Boy, or
How they like the movie.
Outside the Nine.
A lot of people liking this movie.
Hate it. It's just the worst movie. No, I'm just joking.
I can see, you know.
Horror of Dracula was probably the best Dracula from Hammer.
Oh, false.
Hate which one?
False.
Which one?
Well, we've got.
Horror
Well,
of
no, I'm
Dracula
kidding.
was probably the best
You know
Dracula.
what? I would rate Brides of Dracula a little higher
Yeah.
than Horror of Dracula for me personally,
Yeah.
but Dracula's not in it. Van Helsing is,
Right,
but
right.
Dracula's not in it because I love that killer ending. But, you know, you're not wrong. Horror of Dracula is not a bad movie.
No.
But not at all. But I love when he takes the windmill and turns it into the cross and to
Yeah.
destroy the
Yeah.
vampire. I do love that. And then there's Dracula Prince of Darkness, which is really friggin' tits too. But I mean, Chris Lee's got no lines in it.
Right.
But it's
And
hard.
he was,
Those three, you
and he
can't
was
go
pissed
wrong.
about that, right?
He didn't. The rumor is that he didn't like his dialogue and refused to speak it.
That's right. That's what it was.
I don't
we
know.
We did a whole commentary on that movie, and lots to talk about.
So
there.
I wouldn't say that you're wrong and Horror of Dracula is the best. It's just not necessarily my favorite. Not false, just.
Yeah, hate when they cut horror movies. Yeah, I love Brides of Dracula with David Peel.
Yep.
Yep. There was a weird thing that was going on in this movie with, like, they would take the females from the village and tie them up, and
This was interesting.
they would rip off the tops, and then they would take them and they would lay them on what looks like coffins.
Sort of like an altar. It was like
With
they would pick 7
yes,
and probably 7 virgins, and they would bite them, and then their blood would drain down into this vat of bubbling Cherokee Red.
yeah, like a
You remember that
cauldron.
soda, Cherokee
Red,
That's
yeah.
what I think of every time I watch it. I was like, oh man, it looks like Cherokee Red.
I remember that pot, man.
They still make it. They still make it.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, it goes into the boiling vat.
Right.
Of the blood does, and they don't ever tell you what.
I presume they're going to drink it at some point, but
I
someone's
guess.
always getting knocked into it. It's getting knocked over. I mean,
And the teeth of the vampires. Mm-hmm. They're these thin
come out like this.
little walrus.
Where have we
type
seen that
things.
before? Isn't there some other show or movie where the vampires were like that?
I don't know.
It's and that was probably because of the makeup. It was because the makeup comes out a little bit. They probably had to
Yeah.
do it that way because if
Probably.
you open your mouth, it would probably tear the makeup or something.
Yeah.
It was probably out of necessity, I would think.
Yeah.
I think what they were going for is to give them a sort of dead, desiccated, decayed look.
Ryan says Christopher Lee doesn't have any lines. That sounds so creepy.
In Dracula, Prince of Darkness, no.
Yeah.
And he gives a hell of a performance with absolutely no lines of dialogue.
Yep. And it's because he was pissed off during the making.
That's
of
the rumor. Now,
movie. But-
Hammer honchos at the time said, no, that's not true. Chris liked to say that was true. Take it for what it is. Everybody's dead.
Chris W. says, I'm looking forward to the cheap fights, bad masks, and walrus teeth.
I wouldn't say cheap fights. Not as good as a Shaw Brothers official production. Not as good as, Shaolin Temple or something like that, but it's adequate.
Yeah, no, it's
And what's good about Shaw Brothers fights is you got the heroes, and there's always going to be a couple of fights where they are overwhelmed, and that's how that first fight is in the field there in the hinterland when they're heading on their journey to the village. I mean, there's about 78 of those guys and just like 8 of them, and they're all hooping ass.
Oh yeah.
And that's what it's all about. I love that.
Oh, and Tracy Asteria puts the links in there. If you care to want to support this stuff that we're doing, the links there for Tracy just posted to join Patreon
Oh.
and join the channel. With that comes movie nights every Friday night.
Movie night.
Yeah, we're doing Rocky Horror Picture Show this week.
Is that? I thought they wanted Phantom of the Paradise.
Oh, we did that this last week.
Oh, okay.
So this
you're
week
doing
I'm
both.
giving them. Yeah, I'm just
You're
giving
just
them.
giving
Rocky.
them, huh?
Well, Halloween's coming up. We need to play Rocky Horror Picture Show. So that's where
That's it. That's
me
where
and
we
Ted,
met, man.
Yeah, kind of.
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I remember that day, man.
He wrapped his
So-
leg around me.
Yeah.
and
Oh,
said,
anyways,
Do
yeah.
you like my boots?
So.
No, I'm kidding, but that did happen to me the first time I went to Rocky Horror Picture Show when I got auctioned off. The virgins. They always do something fun for the virgins.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember Frankenfurter came behind me because my friend who said he wouldn't outed me. And I remember
Wait,
he just...
you're out?
Oh, he outed me.
I'm out, and I
He
haven't
outed
even
me as a
been
virgin.
back in.
I haven't even been in. And I remember he
Yeah.
just lifted his leg up, put it over my shoulder, and I was like 15, I think. And he's like, "Do you like my boot?" And I just said, "Yes, master."
Oh,
And he took my hand and took me up to the front to get auctioned off. I don't
Oh,
recall how
my
much it was for.
God.
But I remember I was with another friend who was just very, very thin.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Look at the physique on this one." And he started flexing. It was fun. A lot of fun.
Oh, that's
Now they don't even do it at midnight around here. They do it like 9:30 on a Saturday once a month.
Yeah.
And it's bullshit, man. It's supposed to be a midnight movie.
Every Friday.
Even though I'm probably too old
Well,
to stay
during-
up that late anymore.
During Halloween season, I think they
They
should.
will. They'll probably do a 9:30 and they'll probably do a midnight.
Yeah.
But that's it. It used to be every Saturday night at the Cedar Lee
Yeah.
midnight.
Oh, no, I know.
And then things started getting shittier and shittier and shittier. It used to be, the first time I went,
Yeah.
we had a 5-pound bag of rice that we went to Mark's and bought that day.
Oh, God.
And I remember they had a cop there,
a
and he
lot
was
of
looking
rice.
at all our stuff, and I remember he looked at the rice and was like, "You really need all that?" And I was just like, "Well, there's 6 of us, And I remember we're all taking
that makes
handfuls of it
sense.
and throwing it.
There's
But wait,
6 of
this is a
you.
good story.
Yeah.
Because we're almost done. I mean, Legend of 7 Golden Vampires is what it is.
Yeah.
So this is a better story.
Amen.
So we're taking handfuls of the rice out of the bag. We're all throwing it. And there were these teenage girls sitting in front of us.
Yeah.
And my buddy was holding it. And I grabbed it out of his hand and dumped it all over the girls in front of us. And I gave him the bag back real quick. And they turned around and looked at him and holding the bag. And they're like, "You asshole." They're probably still picking rice out of their hair.
Well,
But
you
you'd
know
be able to
what?
throw, remember you used to be able to throw the cards and stuff?
Yeah, you go to a Rocky Horror
They
Picture
stopped
Show.
that. They stopped all
Well,
that.
you
You can't
got-
bring anything.
You have to know that you're going to get that. You know
Well,
what I
now
mean?
they don't let you bring anything. You can't bring toast. I mean, maybe you could bring a flashlight or something, or noisemakers.
Yeah.
But nothing that they're going to have to clean up.
Oh, my God.
I mean, the cards, they would say, they stopped that. That was the first thing they stopped.
No, that was... Hey.
Oh, and I remember that time we had
The
like
good old
frozen
days, man.
bagels, and when they would get, a toast. Most people would throw toast. We're throwing frozen bagels.
bagels,
You know,
no.
just don't throw it at the screen. You weren't allowed to throw it at the screen. And I mean, the cards, the playing cards. Imagine trying to sweep those playing cards up.
I know.
That's a bitch.
I
All right,
know.
broom's not going to sweep
Not
those.
gonna sweep,
So
no.
that was the first thing they stopped. And then you had your squirt guns and your
Yeah.
plain dealer, which is very convenient in this town because that's the paper that they use.
Right.
That's our paper.
Yes.
And it used to be a lot of fun. And unfortunately, if I wanted to take my kids to it, they're not going to have that same
And it was
kind
cool.
of
It
fun.
was cool seeing Plain Dealer in the movie. But anyway.
And I even saw it in another city, with a double feature of shock treatment.
Yes.
So I got to see both.
Yes.
I got to see
Shock
both
Treatment.
in one night. No
You-
sleep that night.
You know, Shock Treatment I haven't seen yet. I haven't seen that movie yet.
Really?
Yes.
It's very, very different. If I
figured, yeah.
had to guess, you're not gonna like it. But
Hey,
it-
we like a lot of.
but
the
it's got
same
Jessica
movies,
Harper in it
But you should
from
know, yeah.
Suspiria
Yes.
and Phantom of the Paradise.
Right.
It's got some catchy songs.
Yeah.
It's got some of the same characters, but it is a completely different type of story.
Yeah, well, I might have to give
There's
it a
no
try.
Frankenfurter.
Chris
there's-
W. says, first time I see Rocky Horror Picture Show. As a teen, I got called a virgin and had rice thrown at me.
Oh, that's
for
what they did to you?
For walking out.
Walking out?
I went to a strict church back then. Oh, okay, so you walked out for a reason. Edward
Oh,
Stewart
man.
says...
You got to open up, man.
what's
Give
this?
yourself over to absolute pleasure.
Yes, Count Dracula. With he's just mentioning movies.
Don't
they're all great.
drink it.
But yeah, no.
Dino peed in
I
it.
could have, yeah. But listen, man, the movie. If we continue on here with it, it was different. I'm trying to think.
There
if
we
there's
go.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else really to point out in it other than,
I mean, it's
just
a unique story, a unique type of mashup.
Yes.
A totally different experience for Hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't super successful. But they were sure that it was going to be because, horror movies always made money and kung fu movies always made money.
So they thought.
They thought this is going to work.
Something
and
that
it
just
didn't work.
Yeah, it just flopped.
But,
oh well.
But, Hammer was on its way out at that time. I mean, the studio itself, I think, was going to last maybe another 5 years or so. Mm-hmm. And that was about it. As far as horror films, I think Christopher Lee would do, like To the Devil a Daughter, and he was out. And, that's kind of about it. I mean, they didn't do much else after this.
So this definitely stands out as something totally different.
Right.
And
it's got
unique.
a different flavor. If you're a fan of both of these genres, I mean, I know you might like some action movies that have martial arts in it, but I don't know if you like these.
I love the classic
these
kung fu
hardcore,
movies. Yes.
Like if you watch it, like, okay, say like this scene that's playing on my phone here.
Yes.
This is when the vampires are attacking the village and taking the
right.
women. These are the sets that they would use in the Shaw Brothers films.
Yeah.
If you like that style of architecture and, there are some very good stories in there. A lot of times it's a lone warrior. I mean, if I'll tell my kids, I watched this great kung fu movie, this guy, he disrespected this other school, and then they had to get revenge on his school, and they're just like, Dad, that's what they're all about. Someone's always marching into a school, they take the sign off the door and snap it in half and throw it on the ground, and that causes all kinds of brouhaha afterwards.
Right.
And there's a lot of them.
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
I love the old kung fu
But
movies, man.
For instance, there's the director of the martial arts sequences in this one, Cheng Che.
Yeah.
He did a cycle of films. They're not all like connected, but they're thematically connected. It's called the Shaolin cycle.
Okay.
2 of them are definitely connected. The 5, what is it called? 5 Shaolin Masters.
Okay.
And then there's a prequel.
Yeah.
Because that movie begins with the Shaolin Temple burning, and they're going to get revenge. And then the one right after that was Shaolin Temple, and that tells you the story, and it ends with the burning of the temple. But he also did like 4 or 5 other movies that have those characters, played by the same actors.
Yeah.
David Chang's one of them. Playing those characters, having other adventures during the years it took before they got their revenge. Because sometimes they really truncate, how long, I was watching one the other day, and like that 2 years go by. All right. And it's only because a character said, I haven't seen you in 2 years. Okay. You see him in the Shaolin Temple just, practicing a little bit. That was evidently 2 years of doing shit like that.
Well, I mean, it takes a long time for them to reach a certain level of their...
they usually start you in the kitchen first.
Yeah.
You're usually cooking the food. It's almost like Karate Kid. You're doing the moves, and you don't realize you're learning, and then they call you out on it, and you realize, oh, shit, I was learning something all that time when they had me stirring these big vats of gruel and stuff like that. I was learning something.
There's a lot of, like, Confucius and stuff like that. There's reasoning behind why they did everything. In
the way that they educate. So, I mean... Those films, if you like that style of films and you like Hammer films and you hadn't seen this one, it's an interesting one to watch. I don't know where you can find it, except for, spending $20 on the Blu-ray, which I recommend you do. But, unfortunately, these movies don't really stream anywhere.
No.
Nowhere.
Yeah, this was hard. This one's hard to find. No, actually, YouTube has a version of it.
I wonder if it's the shorter version or the long. How does YouTube get away with having all these movies on there?
Well, they eventually take it down.
I guess.
You would think they'd catch it right away, but yeah.
God, I mentioned something on here and, you get dinged or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, I go dun dun, dun dun, like Jaws or something, and you get dinged.
Yeah. No, it's a weird thing. But
it's a mashup of styles. It's an East meets West. The story behind the making of it is a little interesting. Yeah, some of the makeup isn't all it could be or what we expect these days. Yeah. But again, go look at how much money it took to make this movie, and you'd be surprised how far they stretched a buck.
Right.
So
yes, leading So that's the movie, pretty much.
I mean,
Van
Van Helsing confronts Ka, who's inhabited by Dracula, and he even says the comment, "Van Helsing, even here in this place you plague me." Like, I can't get away from your ass anywhere. And he does.
Van Helsing makes him get out of Ka's body.
Yeah.
He says, "Show me as you are."
Yeah, show me. And he
So,
does.
yeah.
And he does dispatch him pretty quickly. They're like, Peter, we're kind of running out of time here. Just hold the spear up, okay?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Cushing. He
Dracula has died. That maybe to go along with Dino's, little nitpicking. One thing that was always great about the Hammer vampire movies was usually Dracula died in a really interesting way. The classic way in the first one, sunlight.
Yeah.
The second one, he was trapped under ice. Dracula, Prince of Darkness.
Yes.
The third one, he was, let's see. Oh, he was impaled on a gold cross that was in the ground.
And that was a cool kid. Like, when he fell from that cliff and onto that, I mean, that was awesome. That was really cool. I give it the Hammer with those Dracula movies, man.
Even in the Satanic Rites of Dracula, he dies because he gets, I forgot what's the name of the thorns that were wrapped around Christ's head. He gets entangled in a bush of those. Yeah. And I forgot what it's called. Somebody will know it.
Yeah.
But
I forget.
He gets entangled in one. So for Van Helsing just to kind of hold up a spear and spear him in the heart, it's a little stuck.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll give the ending that.
Yeah.
Dracula is always dispatched in a much cooler way.
Yeah. And the fact that they had to have people die, it's like, I mean, I understand that. I mean,
it's like in Seven Samurai, man. Not everybody makes it.
I know.
That's where it hits home. And that's how it is in the kung fu movies, man. Not all the heroes make it in the end. Usually the hero dies.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
like the guy with the hatchet in his stomach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he ain't going to survive that.
No.
But he's still going to kick it. I mean, and it is literally like 22-minute fight. And he's kicking all kinds of ass with a hatchet in his gut. He's going to die.
Heck yeah. Again, you guys, sorry I'm not catching you guys in the chat here, but...
And furthermore, you got to see a lot of topless Asian chicks in the movie. I thought for sure you'd like that.
There's topless women in the movie, but
not just women.
He says,
Asian women.
Favorite Hammer, not really a horror film. Quatermass in the Pit says John
Quatermass in the Pit, one of their science fiction films. They did three Quatermass films: Quatermass 2, and Quatermass in the Pit.
Yes.
They're all. I like Quatermass in the Pit the best.
Yes.
But I would recommend that one too. A good science fiction film.
Yeah.
Almost like an Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of.
Right.
Sort of type of film.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's it. Next week we're gonna have me and Ted and his sister Stu. His sister Stu.
It's a YouTube character she plays.
Oh yeah, no, I
Stu Florentine, the pest exterminator.
Yes. And
we have decided Stu has never seen Empire of the Ants, with ants bigger than the ones in them.
Yes, yes.
And we're gonna get Stu's take on how you would deal with a situation like that.
Yeah.
From a professional standpoint.
I can't wait to. And the link is under the video to her channel, to Stu's channel, to Angie's channel. But it's funny stuff. So
barring anything unforeseen, that's the plan.
We'll be live here talking about Empire of the Ants. And it'll be a fun ride.
Joan Collins, when she used to look good. Another Hammer alumni. She did some Hammer movies.
Yeah.
She did.
At her when she was younger, And tomorrow night have a paranormal show.
What you talking about?
Alien
orbs, probes.
No, UFOs. This woman's Caitlin, who is we had a guest on not long ago, Sandra Gilms, and she's tons of UFO videos and stuff. She's almost to the point where she's being stalked by aliens and UFOs and a lot of the abductions and stuff. But her daughter deals with the same kind of stuff. She's also
usually does happen in families.
Paranormal investigator, and so it should be interesting talking to her about everything, as long as shows up.
Oh yes. kind of banks on that, huh?
Yeah, you gotta always do that in the paranormal field. You gotta bank on people being there. So hopefully she'll be there. And
if I'd known you weren't gonna like this movie, I might not have showed up.
Oh,
I'm
geez,
kidding.
come on.
I'm kidding with you. I'm sorry. I was a little hard on you at the beginning.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
all right.
I was just trying to make some entertainment. I'm sorry. I'm not really mad at him. We were just trying to have some
No,
entertainment.
we're good. It's just one of those movies. I don't know what to say, but every now and then
Part
we have
of
them.
this show, at least on my part,
Yeah.
I know I might ruffle some feathers once in a while, but part of it is just me trying. I always make people laugh. I think you know that. I always goof around. I always, I got the award at work for the funniest employee.
Well,
all right, go look at that,
congratulations.
and or most pleasant, whatever it was. They said, always makes us laugh or whatever.
There you go.
So part of it is comedy, and comedy is art. So.
Yeah, well, and comedy's supposed to be taken as comedy, so you don't look.
Maybe
too
I have
deep.
to preface the show now.
Don't look too.
Anything
deep
that comes
into it,
out of my
but-
mouth, there's
Yeah,
a bite to it.
exactly. No, it's interesting. And Saturday we're gonna have the Mummy trivia night.
Which mummy? 1999, Brandon Fraser?
What was the deal with him getting all these teary-eyed? What did they give him, a lifetime award? or
No,
something?
he just completed a film with Darren Aronofsky, who hasn't done a movie for a while.
Okay.
If you like Requiem for a Dream, that's a real.
Yeah, I'm talking Brendan Fraser.
Well, that movie makes you want to jump off a bridge.
Yeah.
And he just finished a film with him called The Whale.
Okay.
About a
Yes.
severely overweight man.
Yeah.
I don't know if some of that's bodysuit or if he actually. I mean, obviously it looks like
He got very heavy. Yes.
I don't know if he probably gained some weight for the role, but anyway, I guess it's getting a lot of accolades. His performance in that film.
Ah, okay.
So it might be one to watch. I have seen every Aronofsky film. I even went. I remember when Pi first came out, going to the Cedar League to go see it.
Yes.
And that Requiem for a Dream. What did he do after that? I can't remember.
I don't know, but I've seen it everywhere with.
He did The Wrestler, for God's sake. The Wrestler's
Oh my God!
one of the best movies
Mickey
ever
Rourke,
made.
With Mickey Rourke.
Noah, which I
And,
didn't care for as much, but it was
and
ambitious.
Melissa Tomei.
Marissa Tomei.
Woo!
Marissa Tomei!
Marissa Tomei.
Evidently, she likes guys like me. Short, stocky.
Yeah. Seinfeld. But yeah, The Wrestler is a fantastic movie.
Absolutely. Mickey Rourke did that for no money. Didn't even get paid for that
Good
movie.
for him. It's a shame.
Bruce Springsteen donated a song to it. Just, here, take the song, man.
Yeah, it's a shame what he's done to him. Mickey Rourke is...
And
he
got
used to
robbed
be
of a Best Actor award.
the
for
Pope
that.
of Greenwich Village, man. Oh my God, one of my favorite movies of all time too. I love that movie. Something about it. And Mickey Rourke just plays that role so good. Daryl Hannah's
Oh,
in
The
it.
Fountain. That's what he did after.
The Fountain.
With Hugh Jackman and
Okay.
sort of that. A lot of people didn't like that. I saw it in the theater twice. I thought it was wonderful.
Huh. I don't think I've seen The
The
Fountain.
Fountain with Hugh Jackman and
Yeah.
Oh my! Put it
not
on your
seen
to
it.
watch list.
Okay.
Oh, it's lovely.
Okay. The Fountain. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this Sunday, me and Ginger will be doing Dress to Kill, 1981.
Isn't it? Is it De Palma?
Yes, Brian De Palma.
Thought so.
So, look forward to that. And overnight tonight, we have a great stream of Mixed Bag. Plenty of Johnny Dollar to start.
Johnny
Because,
Dollar.
Johnny Dollar's... everybody loves Johnny Dollar.
Dollar get paid.
Yeah. I could stream Johnny Dollar every day. And people
Might
love
make your
it.
life easier.
But, anyways... and a good mixed bag throughout, so hopefully you guys enjoy that. I even threw in 2 Alien Worlds and end the day with some great Gildersleeve for morning coffee. Again, we got this morning coffee thing in the morning, and it's been slow at the diner, shall I say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what's going on there in the morning. Maybe another diner's got better coffee.
You need bustier waitresses.
In the morning, so I don't know what's going on there, but I do know what's going on there. But anyways,
Oh.
but another thing I end up watching. This is why I give up, Ted,
What? What do you give up
with
on?
Hollywood Man right now.
Uh-oh, what'd you watch? Careful
I mean-
what you say.
I know.
You don't want to be given
No,
a list of something.
Well, and I don't want you to start up. We got to watch what you say.
I won't watch.
Because the Lord of the Rings, the new series.
Okay.
It
Stop. I will
okay.
just say one thing.
Stop. Okay.
This is the only thing to say.
Okay. But please watch what you say. Don't offend.
Don't you trust me?
Yeah. Okay.
Do you
yes.
trust me?
If you say that, I do. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Now, many people out there just like fantasy entertainment, but when it does come to Tolkien, I don't know. Some of us just hold it a little bit higher.
Oh,
it's sort of like the holy grail of
you got to
fantasy.
you got to take a rocket ship up to where I got it on a pedestal. Yeah.
When it's done right or with respect, like the Lord of the Rings trilogy,
yes,
certainly many changes made. Certainly many
Hey,
changes.
Bubba.
But as far as
Hey,
taking that tome
yeah,
and turning it into a
film,
a film series
or
that
whatever.
sweeped awards
Yeah.
and is still loved to this day, 20 some years later.
Oh yeah.
It was probably the best that you could do. And that's because it stayed true to what the book was.
Yes.
And then later on, when
Peter
Jackson goes to do the Hobbit films,
Yes.
he's like, maybe I can add this character or add this little love interest or create this character that wasn't
Yes.
in the book
Yes.
and add some stuff from all other sources and put
Yeah.
it all in here and maybe try to improve on Tolkien.
Yeah.
This is why no one talks about the Hobbit movies.
Right.
All right?
Right.
They're shit.
Right.
All right? You took a children's whimsical swashbuckling type of story, and that's why 20 years from now, no one's going to talk about those movies. They're going to talk about those movies, the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah.
So now we come to the series. And
Did you watch it?
I don't need to.
Exactly. No, and I don't want you to.
I don't need to for this reason.
Okay.
Before the show was ever even released,
Yeah.
they said what they had access to and what they didn't.
Yeah, we talked about
And
this. Yeah.
I mean, they said we're creating the story that Tolkien never wrote.
Right.
None of this, except for character names and maybe the barest skeleton
Yes.
of circumstances,
Yeah.
is in that show, based on what they say.
Right. Right.
So I know in my head, if it's not really based on the Silmarillion, which they didn't really have access to.
I mean, they got Elrond, they got Galadriel.
Right,
but...
right. And those are the things. They have the rights to the names.
Yes. Yes.
They can do whatever they want with the characters. You put me off for a second here. If it's not based on the Silmarillion or any of the histories of Middle Earth that I've read, then it doesn't really matter to me.
I'll get to that in a second.
I don't
Tracy,
care who
on
they...
your question there to Ted.
I don't care who they cast.
Yeah.
I don't care
Well,
what special effects look like or who
Listen.
does the music or who's directing it
Listen,
or everything.
I agree with you.
It's not
But I
based
just-
on the writer's writings.
Right.
So it's not
Yeah.
really part of the story.
Exactly. But I thought...
So I don't care. If people like it, nothing wrong with that.
Oh, no, people aren't going to like it. No,
But
it's
for me
terrible.
personally,
It's terrible.
like if I knew that the Peter Jackson
Yeah.
movies 20 years ago, and there was rumblings because the internet was still new then that like Arwen was going to be at Helm's Deep and stuff like that, which really would have taken away from what Eowyn was doing down in the below Helm's Deep with the women and children and keeping everybody safe down there.
Yeah.
Fans got in an uproar about it. I don't know if those scenes were ever filmed. I don't know if they were ever going to be filmed. Maybe it was just a rumor.
Right.
But my point is that if things had drastically been different
Yeah.
or truncated or characters added, and some characters were changed, like Faramir was changed a bit.
Yeah.
For a movie, it was good. It
Yeah.
worked. But
And
it's like anytime they had a question, they said, "Well, what's in the book?" Let's go to
and
the
that's
book.
not even the point I'm making. We both agree.
So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
So why should I watch it?
But listen, I was interested because, especially with all the rumblings that
You
were
can't
going
ever
on
say no, can you?
and stuff, I figured I'd check it out.
If the button says don't push, you have to push. You have to push.
I figured I'll check it out, and you know what? It was the worst mistake of my life.
And see, look.
I'm like, well, not the worst mistake.
It's like if you watch a
But it was-
bestiality tape. You
Listen,
can't get it out of your
oh
head.
my god! But so there was a the series has nothing to do with like the Hobbits. They don't even look like hobbits. I'm throwing a couple things out there. The hobbits don't even look like hobbits.
They don't?
No. It has no feel of the Tolkien universe whatsoever.
Okay.
Just there's no feel of it.
So when it comes to this stuff,
again,
you and I are pretty much in agreement.
It's just the most ridiculous. I can't believe they put so much money.
If
into
you had
making
told
something
me,
like this.
like if we were sitting here right now and you told me, you know, Ted, it's pretty damn good. I think you'll like it. You know, maybe.
There's a
I would.
lot of reasons why I thought it was so ridiculous and so... But most of the reasons I won't even get into here because...
For me, it's just pure storytelling.
Controversy and stuff.
I mean, the Silmarillion, as tough as a read as that is,
yes.
and I've read it a few times. Matter of fact, I'm reading it again now. Because when I knew the show was coming, I thought, oh, maybe they'll be touching up on some of this.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm a little bit more than halfway through it again. It's a tough read. I couldn't have read that. I tried reading it after I read Lord of the Rings, and I could not. I just wasn't ready for it. It's a dense read, and you really almost need to keep a notebook with names and who's connected to who and who's related to who.
Silmarillion is very tough read,
but once you get through it, it's worth it, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it could.
Stick to the book.
But see, the Tolkien estate will not let that go. That's one thing that maybe I give them some credit for it. Yeah. They're not going to let that go because if that was done correctly, it could be a sweeping story. Yeah. But it wouldn't be one that is necessarily continuous each episode. There could be hundreds of years between episodes and, you know, we meet new characters. It's not for season TV, you know, with a big arc.
Right.
Aspects of it are, but not all of it.
Well, that night... I that was the first mistake, and then the second mistake was going over to watch the new House of the Dragon, the new Game of Thrones.
I still haven't finished Game of Thrones.
Well, Game of Thrones was good up until the last season, and then they botched it all.
Does it bother you knowing that the books are very different?
No, because I never read the books. I just watched the series.
Because it got to a point where they were ready to buy. You know, they've adapted all the books,
right?
And now where do we go?
Yes,
and
that's what we get here. And it was the most lackluster, series that was. You would think it would be a big deal. Game of Thrones. There's a spinoff.
Right.
And
I do know about it.
It was the most lackluster.
I have HBO Max, so I see it advertised.
Yeah, it was so awful, Ted, and. It was like jumping into the middle of a season where the plot has gotten away and there's nothing going on and you're like going, this is the first episode?
I mean, I guess it just goes to show how much even though I liked Game of Thrones, I never bothered to finish it. Maybe that says something. Well, did someone have a question for me? Did you say?
Tracy asked, wanted to know, what is your favorite film that you would want to review?
We've done it. Which was King Kong.
King Kong, yeah.
The original King Kong. We've done that.
Other than one we've done already. Or is that too tough?
No. I've got, several that I'd love to talk about. I mean, I'm also a big fan of, silent comedies. I know those aren't always conducive to talking about on a show. Well, say a Harold Lloyd film or, oh, God, what if we went deep like Seven Samurai or something like that?
Oh, God.
Or, I like a lot of old adventure type, Jason and the Argonauts. And
Seven Samurai is one of my favorite films.
The Sinbad, Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, those types of movies, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Yeah. I love stuff like that.
So pick one.
Oh, I don't know.
Any of them?
I don't know any, whichever one you like. Even Shogun Assassin, which is based on the Lone Wolf and Cub Japanese film series. Yeah. There were 6 films in the series, and it tells the story of a samurai on a path of revenge with his little infant son in a baby cart. Yeah. And that baby cart's rigged up with all kinds of weapons and shit. But when they got the first two, first two movies,
I watched that, but we never got to doing a review on it for some reason.
The first 2 films were optioned here in the States, and instead of releasing them individually, they edited them together and sort of made their own movie. Yeah. And it's a fucking kick-ass movie. Yeah. And it's bloody as hell, and it's action-packed, and there's some deep, touching moments in it. Yeah. And I will say, for a movie that was dubbed into English to create a story, it's the best dubbing I've ever seen. You watch those lips, you're like, my God, that is what they're saying.
Yeah. I remember watching that.
That's a fantastic... Yeah. I've got all of those movies. But mostly, I'm an old school... I like the old stuff. I love Hammer. I love Harryhausen.
Both of us do.
Stuff like that. Those are my favorites.
Zatoichi, the Blind Swordsman?
Zatoichi, the Blind Swordsman is another series of actually 26 movies and a TV series, all played by the same guy, Shintaro Katsu. And he's a blind... He's not a samurai. He's actually a masseuse and a criminal. Okay. But he is very good with a samurai sword, and he disguises it as a cane. Yeah. And he's very unassuming. He'll go through the Japanese countryside. Usually he's helping somebody out. He gambles a little. Yeah. But, I mean, and it's back in. Those are all 26 of them are good. There's even one where he meets... did you see Yojimbo? There's one with the two of them together.
Kurosawa.
It's Zatoichi meets Yojimbo, and it's Toshiro Mifune, and they're in there. Yeah. There's a Shaw Brothers film called
Kurosawa rules, man.
There's a Shaw Brothers film called The One-Armed Swordsman.
Yeah.
And this is about a guy gets his arm chopped off and becomes a great swordsman with his other hand. And they did a whole series of movies, but he was played by Jimmy Wang Yu, and. There's a movie with Zatoichi and Jimmy Wang Yu playing that character. And have you ever heard of Master of the Flying Guillotine?
Yes.
That's actually a sequel. Everybody knows that movie for some reason.
Yeah.
That's actually a sequel to a movie called One-Armed Boxer. Jimmy Wang Yu again. Yeah. And in this film, this monstrous Japanese guy, literally with a karate chop, chops his arm off. Yeah. And he has to learn how to, and you could tell when you're watching the movie, his arm's actually, tightly wrapped around his body. But that's the character that's in Master of the Flying Guillotine. If you just watch that movie, you don't know how he lost his arm, so you got to go watch One-Armed Boxer to see how he actually lost his arm. Because I know Master of the Flying Guillotine, that's like on Tubi. You can watch that right now if you want. But what was I getting at? The Zatoichi film. He's met both of those famous characters. There's Zatoichi meets the one-armed boxer or whatever that is. Or the one-armed swordsman, excuse me. Yeah. And Yojimbo. And it's an interesting series of films if you've never seen them. There's Hanzo the Razor, who uses sex to sort of get his way. I don't care for those as much. Lady Snowblood, at least the first one is really good.
Still haven't seen Rashomon.
Rashomon's good. It's a film about different people's perspectives over a pretty bad incident that happened.
Chris W., this is why I love this channel. It reverses the classics and those classic directors who open our imaginations. Heck yeah. Anyways, I'm going to end it. We're almost at the bottom of the hour. And, yes, next week...
If you've got HBO Max, there's a lot of Kurosawa films on there.
Okay.
Actually, quite a bit of Asian films on there that you could check out. I don't know if you have the channel, but if any of you do out there, there's a lot of Kurosawa. There's Lady Snowblood. There's the Lone Wolf and Cub movies I mentioned. Not Shogun Assassin, but the Lone Wolf and Cub movies are on there. Hanzo the Razor's on it. Not Zatoichi, but you'll have to find him somewhere else.
Yeah. No, yeah, so very cool. Next week will be fun with Stu.
Hope Stu can make it. Hope Stu brings enough DDT or whatever for these ants.
Heck yeah, man. Oh, my God. Empire of the Ants. So, anyways, I will see you guys tomorrow night for the Paranormal Show and stuff trivia night on Saturday.
And more stuff
on Sunday. But overnight, we got a good old stream tonight, and Johnny Dollar and all the other good stuff that's on there. Even got some weird circles, some hermit's cave there, and hopefully you guys enjoyed us babbling around today and talking about this movie, and I guess we'll see you next week.
Film, actually.
Yeah, film, actually. Yeah, that's what it is.